Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back. I'm Ashley and today we're going to be doing something a little different. This week is my husband's birthday, so we're going to be doing a lot of stuff to celebrate him and get ready for his birthday. But this week's video is going to be about getting ready for the D&D one-shot that we are going to be playing at his birthday party on Saturday. We're going to be using some uniquely shaped styrofoam that I can turn into some awesome terrain for this one shot. And then once we figure out the shapes and get it all put together, I'll be painting it and working on getting it to look real and like it's actual terrain and wood and all that stuff. This campaign, or this one shot, is going to be very vanilla since we have people playing for the first time this week, and we have people who have only played one session before, and then we have people who are veterans and they love the game. So I want to make it vanilla but also interesting enough that it'll be entertaining for the veterans. This one shot is going to be, they're a group of mercenaries who are hired to break into Drakespine Castle. They're supposed to be going in and robbing the place basically, and they'll have to break into the castle and delve through the actual dungeon of the castle where they'll pick up some friends along the way, and then they'll either fight or sneak past guards to get into the vault. They'll have to break into the vault, loot the room. After that, a dragon will attack while they're breaking in and all that stuff. So they will have to get out of a crumbling castle and then fight a dragon. I'm hoping that this one shot goes well, and I'm hoping that these terrain that I build are going to look realistic enough to actually be convincing and entertaining. If this doesn't work out, my husband just got a resin printer and he's getting parts for a filament printer that he's had for a while. We'll just ask him very, very nicely to print me out some for next time. But I'm hoping this goes well because I've been saving these things for a while and I don't want to just throw them into the garbage so they end up in a landfill. It's not good for the environment, and I feel like this will give them new life and I'll be able to use them. I'm going to try to make them as generic as possible so that we can use them again if I so desire, and maybe add on to it and have a collection of terrain made from things that should be garbage. But let's go check out these piles of packing material and see what I can work with. Alright, here's my stash. So let's pull this out and see what we can find. I'm just gonna take this out into the living room so I can spread it out. So the footage from the rest of this day does not have any audio to it. I don't know if I lost the audio in the transfer from my phone or if my phone just didn't record it, but either way, it's all silent, so I'm gonna add music and do voiceovers where I can. I hope it's still entertaining, and I will do my best to explain what's happening. So in this section of the video, I am sorting through the packaging material to try to find the pieces that I want to use. So I kind of forgot about the stack of foam that came with my husband's 3D printer that I was really looking forward to using. So I actually went and got that and started sorting through it here, and I actually found some really fun pieces that I ended up using. So the reshaping and construction begins by cutting out the floor of the main rooms of the dungeon. Sorry about some of the weird angles at the beginning. I was trying to hide the knife the best I could and kind of gave up halfway through. I'm not 100% sure what the rules are for knives on YouTube, but it's just a bread knife that I'm using to cut the foam. I wanted to start by making the lower dungeon where they were gonna start their adventure, and I thought I was only gonna use the little mat, but it turns out I expanded the dungeon enough that it requires the big mat, so I ended up putting that little mat off to the side here in a little bit. out the actual cells of the dungeon. 2 of the newest players wanted to have a delayed start to watch how the game was actually played before they jumped in. This is where they picked those 2 up, and I was planning on maybe having 2 other creatures to fight in those other larger cells, but for the sake of time I decided against it on actual game day. So the next step is to figure out where I'm putting the vault, so I cut out a couple pieces that I could potentially use and try to figure out where I'm going to put them. I bring out the larger mat to start working on the larger battle area. This is where they will be fighting the dragon, and it's going to look like a collapsed castle. I'm trying to decide if these steps are going to be too big for the characters to logically walk up during the battle. So I pull out the mini to see if they're going to be too big, because these are the minis they will be using on the actual game day. I decided that they are in fact too big, so I cut them down to half the height and half the width so that it seems like a more realistic step size. And now it's time to see what the dragon and the minis will look like and plan out the main throne room. I thought these would make really good throne room walls, but they just didn't stand up by themselves, so I had to scrap them, which made me so sad because I was really looking forward to it. But I decided to use the scrap from cutting out those stairs to make the walls of the throne room. I wanted to give the characters a little place that they could hide, so I made that half into like a dining hall, and that little overhang is going to be the kitchen. Now that I have the main idea, I want to have one side be like a dining hall and the other side will be a ballroom. So I am starting to make all the little accessories. I start by making a table, and then I make replacement walls so I don't have to have those brown pieces in there, just because they didn't feel like they were coherent with everything else I was using. And then I actually go on to make the doors. Watch that wall move. I go on to make the doors for the throne room, and then I decide to make doors for the front hall. I actually end up cutting those big chunks down so that they're half the size, so I have double the amount of debris. Then I decide to play around and see how different areas would look with minis in them, so that I can get a better idea of how everything's going to come to scale, and make sure that all the extra little debris is labeled and ready to go. Just so I don't have to worry about having a million tiny little individual pieces, I actually decided to hot glue a lot of this together just so that I only have 10 little pieces instead of 25 to 30. test to see if a couple of the doors will stand up, just so I can have a little something to play with, because a dragon can knock a door down easy. So I wanted to see if I could play with those a little bit before I cleaned up. You didn't think I forgot about the dungeon part of Dungeons and Dragons, did ya? Now here we are gluing those pieces together. And then I reminded myself of how I wanted these to go together and cut out the doors of the main rooms. And then I thought these chunks were the perfect size to make beds, so I cut them in half so they weren't too tall, and here we go, we have 6 little beds. And then of course the vault had to have a door, so I cut that open too before I glued it all together. And the mess hall needed some tables, so I made those. I ended up cutting them in half once more, just so they were more reasonable. And it's painting time. I ended up starting with the beds just because they were small and I wanted to see how the foam would react. And they are like tiny little sponges. They absorbed the paint so much. I needed so much more than I thought I would. I regret not using a sealant or something just so that I had a better surface to work with. I really wanted to make a chandelier for the ballroom, so I used a paper clip to be like the wires that were like holding up the chandelier, and I used this round piece of foam to make the base of it. I think it was a little thick for what a chandelier should be, but I feel like it turned out pretty good after I put a couple coats on it. And with all the miscellaneously colored items out of the way, I figured I would start on the brown. Do the treasure chests first because the chandelier would need another coat of gold, and the treasure chests need a little pop of gold on them as well. This is supposed to be like a wood beam from like the ceiling, in case you're wondering. And on to the tables and doors. So I actually started running out of brown paint at this point, so I finished up these two doors as fast as I could, and then I had to switch over to the gray paint for the night. Hey, would you look at that? I switched over to the gray paint. I want this to look like stone as much as possible, so I want all of that nice, wonderful texture that that sponge gives me. Alright, and here we are working on the largest piece of this entire project. I am so grateful that I went to the store the morning of this clip to get more paint, because I know for a fact I would not have been able to get even this one battlefield done if I hadn't have gotten that second bottle, because this one piece took almost an entire bottle by itself. It was so crazy. It took up so much paint that I was not able to paint the actual dungeon section, which I was a little disappointed in, but I had to do what I had to do. I wanted the dragon fight to be more epic than the dungeon crawl, so I focused on getting the dragon fight ready, and we didn't even really fight in the dungeon. I pulled it out because I thought we were fighting, but then they logicked their way out of it, so we used it for them escaping the crumbling castle. That was pretty much it. This is where I start switching over to the second bottle of gray paint so I can finish this one piece. That other bottle, it was just gone. It was gone. And since I had so much more to do, I started using less paint. I started doing thinner coats just because I had so much more I needed to do with that gray paint and I couldn't risk running out. It's detail time. So this is when I started doing the details on the doors, the tables, and the beds. I think I have a couple of chests that I didn't get to as well that I did details on, but this helps bring things to life so it doesn't just look like a bunch of rectangles that are just thrown all over everywhere. So because I noticed that the mess hall tables were larger than the banquet hall tables, after I painted them, I had to paint one side black just because I ran out of brown and I didn't want to have to worry about it. That's why they're black. So this is one of the most crucial steps when you are building terrain, especially when you have a platform like that. This is where I am drawing the indicator lines. So each player can only move so far each turn during combat. So this kind of helps track that spacing. Each of these 1 inch by 1 inch squares are a 5 foot by 5 foot square in the actual match. So this helps them know how far they can go each turn. And the reason why I did 1 inch by 1 inch squares is because that's the size of the grid that the mat had. You can see later on that I match up the lines to the mat. And with that all finished up, I think it's time for the reveal. And it's wrap up time. This was awesome. I am so proud of everything that I did. I feel like it turned out great. It may not be Matt Mercer level, but it is still pretty freaking rad. I turned some random packaging into this. All I had was a little bit of paint, random packaging, and a paper clip for the chandelier. Oh, I also use Sharpie for indicator lines. But we're going to go over some of the things that I would change and then some of the things that I liked about it. Number one, on the modifications, I would definitely use something to seal the styrofoam so that I'm not using so much paint. I've seen Rachel Maxey use it. She uses like Flex Seal or something like that, and it holds up pretty good. It seals up the pores, but it still keeps the texture. So I think I might try that next time I do this. But yeah, I just use so much paint. Definitely use a sealant next time before I paint. The second thing is I need to give myself a little bit more time to do this kind of stuff because I wasn't able to put the kind of detail into this that I wanted to. I'll give myself more time next time I do a project like this. I will be DMing for some friends in the near future actually, so I feel like I'll be able to record doing that and put a little bit more effort into it and give myself a little bit more time. And the next one I didn't implement because I didn't give myself enough time. For these walls and for these structures, I would definitely want to put something a little heavier in them just so they don't move around so much. There are so many instances where a player would be reaching for their piece and they would just knock over the wall, and it's just like, so I think I would put more supports into that. I would definitely find a material that would have a better structure. Like maybe I could do the foam and then have a layer of cardboard underneath it. And then for the process stuff, I need to check the audio on the footage on my computer before I delete anything off of my phone. Because like I made sure all the video was there, but I didn't go in and like play the video. So I definitely need to check audio next time. This was good practice for me doing voiceovers, but it would have just been a lot easier if I had just checked the footage before I deleted it. So those are the things that I would change going forward. The things that I really liked about it, like, look at it. It looks freaking dope. I had a lot of fun doing this. Painting is so much fun. And like making stuff like this is so cool. I would love to learn how to like weather. I've seen some amazing weathering online and I would love to do that. I didn't do that here because I didn't give myself enough time, but painting and creating this stuff, like this stuff was supposed to be garbage. And I turned it into this. And I'm really proud of that. Planning the one shot was really fun. I got to improvise a lot because I was so focused on making this stuff that I kind of had a basic storyline. And then I just was like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes when we actually got into it. But it was really fun. I love D&D. We have had a few more opportunities this year than like ever before, just because my husband's on a day shift now. So he has more energy and he can actually come to things. Having the group to do a campaign like this, even just a simple, silly one shot, it was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. And the group participated well. I'm so proud of those rookies. They came an hour early and we built their characters while we made dinner. And then we finished building their characters while we ate dinner. And then they read through their characters while they waited for the group to come pick them up. And as soon as they got picked up, they jumped right into it and they had a blast and they did awesome. They said that they want to do more. We're definitely going to include them going forward because they did awesome and I am so excited to see what they can come up with. Garrett had a blast. He got the final blow. It was his birthday. I had to give it to him. I held the dragon out for him. Sorry, babe. It turned out really cool. I didn't do a great job on these tables, but they look really cool. And then these, I didn't show the process of making these. They were the big chunks before, and then I just cut them in half. Making these was really fun too. I just feel like it turned out really well, and this one shot was awesome, and I'm just over the moon. But it's really late, so I'm gonna call it. This was really fun, and I would like to do it some more. So if you guys want to see more of this with audio, hopefully, if you would like to see more D&D content, leave that in the comments. I know that I've been kind of promoting my channel as a sewing channel, but I want it to be a crafting channel. I want to do this. I want to be able to do a painting if I need to have a slow week. I want to be able to learn origami. I want to be able to learn woodworking and metalworking and leatherworking and tinctures, odds and ends. I want want to get into herbalism and start making teas and tinctures and remedies that I can have for my future family. But I want this to be a crafting channel, not just a sewing channel. So I feel like this was the first start into the whole crafting side of things. This was a lot of fun. But if you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed, feel free to like. If you want to see more, turn on that little bell icon so you can be notified when I upload another video. But yeah, this was really fun, and I am looking forward to doing it again. Thank you for watching, and stay majestic. Reading this thing. I'm breaking it and getting it looking. There's always something. Like, I don't know why. There's always something. In all of my videos, there's always something. Knock on wood. But